feel like I woke up from a dream and I'm explaining my dream to you.
Hmm.
But it was incredible. It was like the first tour bus I was ever on, and I was like, oh my God. Hello, hi.
Hi, Taylor. How are you?
Good. How are you, Adam?
I'm fantastic. I appreciate you doing this today.
I appreciate you for having me. I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this all week.
Awesome. That makes me feel good. Well, I'm excited to talk to you. This is a podcast about you and your journey in music. And we'll talk about the new songs that are out, Idiot and Ever Knew Me. Quick side note, this is going to come out after the song's out. So we'll talk about it as if it's out.
Wonderful. Love it. Can do.
Although I haven't had a chance to hear it, so I need your explanation of the song and everything when we get to that point.
Can do. I got you.
Killer. Awesome. Yeah. So like I said, this is about you and your journey in music and how you got to where you are now.
Amazing. I'm so excited.
Cool.
Thank you.
Of course. My pleasure. I'm excited to speak with you. So I did see you're from Northern California. I'm from Southern California, and I don't live there now, but born and raised California up until about a year ago. What part of Northern California are you from?
Yeah, Bay Area, San Francisco. So yeah.
In San Francisco. I lived in the Bay Area for 5 years, so I'm
No
curious to
way.
know exactly whereabouts.
Yeah. Where do you live in the Bay Area?
I spent a very short time in San Ramon, but then I moved to Walnut Creek for a few years.
Oh, have you heard the debate about whether Walnut Creek is considered part of the Bay Area?
No,
It was all the rage as a kid. Everyone was talking about it.
really? I didn't know about this. I thought it was all part of the Bay Area because people,
It is.
what is that like? Because there's like a stretch. There's like Dublin, San Ramon, Danville, and then there's another place I keep forgetting that's between there and in Walnut Creek that's like super upscale housing. It's
Oh.
basically you take that Iron Horse Trail and you go for like years down that. Am I not even near where you're from?
No, I'm like just south of San Francisco. So right at like just south of South San Francisco. So it was a bit of a
Oh,
drive like into the city. But it was really nice to grow up kind of like in an area that was smaller, like not small town or anything like that, but if you wanted to, you had the city there. That was exciting. So
cool. It's interesting because South San Francisco is south of like Daly City, right? Or is it?
gosh.
I'm trying to remember, like, because I remember it got weird. It was like San Francisco, and then Daly City was like where the college was, the University of San Francisco or San Francisco State was there. And then like you went further down, and it was like considered
Millbrae.
South. Yeah, but it wasn't really San Francisco.
Yeah, and then
I
you
don't
get it.
know.
Yeah, I'm gonna embarrass myself right now and say I up until like officially a year ago, I've lived in the Bay Area my whole life and I still do not understand it. I
Well,
still have no idea what's going on there at all.
totally understandable because it's very massive, and there's so many that you can still consider so much of it the Bay Area, like uh, Napa is Bay Area, or you can go all the way down to like Santa Cruz. Oh, that's the Bay Area. Like, is it?
Absolutely. Everything in like 100-mile radius is the Bay.
For sure.
So
Okay, so you grew up in South San Francisco.
right south of it. So kind of when you get into like the smaller towns. But
What
yeah,
smaller town? Just because I'm curious.
yeah. Have you heard of like Redwood City
I have
area?
heard of what Redwood City. Okay.
So it's like not in the city, but it's close enough
Yeah,
where
it is. It's close. What's weird though is the BART ends prior to hitting Redwood City, which I don't like.
yeah,
You
yeah.
have to get
But you
on
don't have,
another form of transportation to get to there and then get it. Yeah. Anyway.
yeah, they have decent public transportation, but they could always up their game for sure.
Awesome. Well, what was it like growing there? I mean, obviously you have access to the city fairly easily, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I think it was really nice. It wasn't a small town vibe by any means, but it was a small community kind of where I was, and especially like in and around school, smaller schools, and you know people pretty well, and you know the families pretty well, which I really loved. And I mean, I obviously didn't hate it because I stayed there another 4 years for college. So
Right.
it just kind of was home for a long time.
Are you still there or no?
No, I'm in LA now. Yeah,
Ah, okay.
I
Still
officially
on the
moved
West Coast
out
then.
here. Yeah, no, still in California. I have not lived anywhere else. Maybe one day.
There you go. Yeah, you went to Stanford. Is that what I saw?
I did, yes.
Wow. Very smart individual.
Thank you. I did not feel smart there, I'll tell you that much.
But
Yeah,
you got in there.
I got in there, yeah. And then they have an orientation where they're like, hey guys, I just want to let you know you're all gonna feel like you don't belong here. That's normal. And it was like, okay,
Interesting.
okay, amazing. And then immediately after that talk, they went in to list the accomplishments of other people in your class. And it's like, one kid figured out how to screen for pancreatic cancer, and other people are winning awards. And you're like, oh my God, I just do music. That's crazy.
Oh, did you? So they go through. Did they go through your major and mention these people, or just in general? They're like, this person went here and they did this.
No, this is like before you start school freshman year. Uh,
Oh,
so no one needs to declare majors, nothing. They just tell you about the accomplishments of people in your class, and you're looking around like, oh my God.
did they mention K-Flay for the music department?
They didn't, because she wasn't in my year, but I love K-Flay, and I was so excited. I knew about her before I knew she went to Stanford,
Yeah,
and that was a very exciting discovery for me.
yeah, she's an incredible human being and artist. Yeah, she started out of the dorms in Stanford.
So cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
So okay, well, prior to going, did you go to Stanford then for music?
no,
Oh,
no.
okay.
I studied psychology while I was there. But I did do music all throughout it.
Okay. I think that's what K-Flay studied, to be honest.
Oh my God, stop. I'm so excited right now. But it makes sense. It makes sense because as writers, you're trying to understand yourself and understand others,
Sure.
and are interested kind of in people's psyches. So that makes sense too.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, so how did you get into music? Like, do you come
Uh,
from a musical household at all?
No, I actually don't. When we were younger, my mom would always have music around on in the house,
Okay.
but no one really did it. It actually, I started in musical theater, and I started in my first musical was in second grade when I was 7, because my mom got back from a parent teacher conference in which they told her I was pretty shy in class, and so she thought throwing me in an audition for a musical would like bring me out of my shell. And
Okay.
she kind of started a tidal wave of, yeah. So I was a true theater kid and
Wow,
did
that obviously worked instead of
yeah,
totally
something.
backfiring on her.
Exactly, right? It's like, oh, I did not know that. I just did this to improve your academics, and now this is your thing. Yeah, so it was fun.
Wow. So then did you do that all through, did you stay within theater and musical theater
I
for a
did.
while?
I was a true theater kid all throughout, up until senior year of high school. The funny thing is the only lead role I ever got was in 6th grade in Cats. I was
Oh,
Grisabella. I got to die and everything, and that was fun. But 7th through 12th grade, never got a lead role. So I was not any good at musical theater. I was fine, but everyone was better.
okay.
But I still loved it.
What about music? Like, I mean, you're sitting next to a piano, you play guitar. Was that something that came in early as well, or you didn't pick it up till later in life?
I think around middle school, I started writing songs apparently in 3rd grade, which of
Wow.
course that's like a really long stretch to say, like writing song, but my mom likes to say that. Um,
Well,
but really
I've
in
heard a lot of artists like kind of you go, yeah, well, I started writing then, but it really wasn't writing. But it really is. I mean, to put together words, melodies, and all that stuff is still, you're still writing a song. You obviously probably weren't writing what you are now, but it's something. It's a start.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I wrote a song about thinking boys were silly. So not much has changed,
I
I
was gonna
guess.
say.
But yeah, I fell in love with Taylor Swift. So around, gosh, maybe it was fourth or fifth grade. So I really am one of those who fell down the Swiftie to songwriter pipeline pretty quick.
I'm
And
also one of those, a human being. I
yeah,
was just older and weirder because it was, but I didn't like. Yeah, I'm such a fan of hers. She's like one of my favorite artists of all time.
oh
I'm
my
not
God.
like being dead serious.
No, I believe you. I would never, she is like the greatest of all time. Do you have a favorite album or record?
It's weird. M- hmm. My favorite album before the most recent two that she put out, because those are my favorites. I think those are such incredible albums that she did over the quarantine, like Evermore and was it Willow? No, what's it called?
Folklore.
Which one?
Folk- Folklore.
Folklore. I think those are the two best records she's ever done. But in 1989 was my favorite album she ever wrote.
Gosh, it has so many amazing songs on that.
Though every one of her records is awesome, though. I mean, every single album is incredible. So it's hard to really pinpoint
Yeah.
ones. I just think the newest ones are so good because I don't like her. This is personally, I'm not a huge fan of more like the tongue in cheeky, like the ones that she did, like that Me song with Brandon Urie. Like I don't like Shake It Off, like those ones. Like they're cool and they're fun and they're like they are what they are. But I think that doesn't really showcase how incredibly talented and deep she is as a writer.
No, I totally can see that. I think it's such a, yeah, I mean, I agree they wouldn't be my first to put on. At the same time, I'm like almost those, especially Shake It Off, like showcase how like that the talent to write a song that like pretty much everyone you talk to has heard that song.
No, yeah, I'm not discrediting it. Like, I mean,
No,
the
no,
fact
I
that
know,
she
no,
can
I
write
know.
these super hits that are that good and like, but she also writes songs like, Exile, and it's like, oh my gosh, like that's such a freaking, that's one of the best songs I've ever heard, like ever, like how deep that one is. And then you hear these other songs, but it's like she can do both. She's such a broad artist that she can write anything. But personally, it's like, wow, that yeah.
Oh,
Anyway,
I
sorry. Shake It Off.
no,
Yeah, that is. I
no,
mean,
I am totally on the same page with you there. Like really, her new stuff is just like, oh, hits you right. It's like daggers in the heart emotion.
yeah,
I
she's brilliant.
totally agree.
What is your favorite Taylor Swift record?
Gosh, I agree that that's like an impossible question, and I'm very sorry for asking you because it's maybe unfair of me to do that because how could anyone ever? I agree that the ones that like now, and it's also like, we're older, the ones that speak to me now the most are Folklore and Evermore.
Mhm.
Absolutely. But I will be a Red stan
Oh,
forever.
that's a
Yeah.
great record. Yeah, I think that's too for me. Not that Red wasn't my favorite record, but like, yeah, I like those two new ones because I'm old and I'm like, oh, those are rad records because they're more relative to me. Instead of going back and listening to like the first album or like Fearless, and I'm like, yeah, this is definitely when she was like 15 years old and writing these songs, but they, obviously were relatable to everyone. And anyway, enough about Taylor Swift. So she kind of got you into the idea of wanting to play guitar and write songs.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think her and Avril Lavigne.
Okay.
I heard Let Go, when I was really young. So both of them really, it felt like, oh my gosh, this is something you can do. This is something that would be fun to do. And I started trying to write songs and took a couple guitar lessons, was no good at the lessons. So I started trying to teach myself.
Hmm.
But originally I just had a book, like books of like the Lisa Frank notebooks of lyrics that I just memorized melodies to and did not have any sort of instrumentation to it at the start for like a couple of years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, how did you get the first guitar? Was it something you asked your parents for?
Yes. My sister actually she wanted to play guitar way before I did. And she really like was good at lessons, and I was not, but soon kind of eclipsed that. Eventually, so I used her guitar for a while, and then had one of those like
Older sister?
no, she's
Oh,
younger.
okay.
Yeah, she just was like way cooler than me at a young age.
Okay, so you used her guitar for a bit.
Yeah. Yep. And then got like an acoustic plastic string ones, like I think whatever the cheap guitar is.
Classical kind of guitar, the nylon string.
No, like literally just an acoustic that they make for children to learn because it's cheap, not as hard on your fingers.
Got it.
So it's one of those. And then eventually, it's actually back here. I got my first guitar, which was an electric guitar. And it's like this really cool sparkly blue because I was young and loved that.
That's cool. You still have it. Is that the acoustic guitar you got? Like you still have that early plastic? That's not obviously the plastic one, but you have the plastic one still?
It might be at my parents' house somewhere. I doubt it though. I think I broke all of the strings. I think I played it until there were like 3 strings left. I could have restrung it. I didn't know how.
Okay. And so they got the electric guitar, and how did that change? Were you playing like
more. Yeah.
But were you like playing heavier songs, or why did you want the electric? Just because Taylor played one at one point in life?
Gosh, I kid you not, I think I just really like the color.
Oh, there you go. That's enough.
It was something really vain and not smart, but I loved it. I still love it.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you get these guitars. When do you start? It sounds like you didn't really like the lessons, but you continued to play just on your own and figured it out yourself.
Yeah, I started, I say that I can play guitar only well enough to write with it. I would not call myself a guitarist by any means. And so that kind of started when I was younger too, because I was impatient and I wanted to start writing songs with guitar. And so I kind of, I only know enough to write songs, and I'm not good, but I started writing and practicing, and would get more into it. And as I transitioned into high school, I started wanting to record stuff, and started doing that kind of just for fun, and eventually was like, I kind of want to do this like more professionally, and was very lucky that my parents were on board with that as long as I was in school.
Okay, so you obviously very smart to get into Stanford. So were you doing academics? Must have been a big part of your life as well, along with the guitar.
Absolutely, yeah. I think academics were always foremost. And gosh, it's like 100%, I think, for both music and academics, and
Okay.
that didn't bode well for my sleep schedule, but I loved it. I wanted to do both. I wasn't one of those who was like, oh, I'm gonna stay in school because I have to, but I'd rather do music, which I did. I would rather do music, and I had an insane college experience because I was doing both, like a very weird, abnormal one. But I wanted to stay in, I wanted to finish. I enjoyed it, and I enjoy having, I had the opportunity to get an incredible education. So I was like, I'm absolutely going to take it.
Mm-hmm. And did you like know that you wanted to go to Stanford? Was that a first choice? And why did you decide to go there?
I think I really just kind of was inculcated into that culture at a young age, and that's kind of it's kind of I'm sure I was brainwashed by the Silicon Valley area of like
Right.
that's cool and everyone knows about it, and I'm sure it was, if we want to dive into the psychology of it, I'm sure it was like I saw it around a lot.
Sure,
And
sure.
it was close enough where I didn't want to go to the East Coast because I knew LA was where I needed to be for music. And I knew that like a 45-minute flight was way better than like a
5 hours.
Yeah.
For sure. Or your parents, they must be very smart. Did they go to like an Ivy League type school as well?
My
Or did they
dad's from
put you
Canada.
towards education? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt. They are very smart individuals, and I always knew that. And they didn't push me per se, but also it was just a value that they had, and I wanted to emulate that. My dad's from Canada, so he went to school there, and my mom went to USC. So
Oh, okay.
they're smarty pants.
For sure, for sure. Cool. Okay, so you go into college. Are you in high school? Are you playing open mic nights or showing anyone your songs? You talked about recording them. Was that something that you kept yourself, or were you known as like, oh, like Taylor's the girl that writes songs and plays around the local area?
No, I was and still am to this day very shy about that stuff. Yeah, I think my first 2 years of high school, I really was like, it sounds so emo to say, but I really was like invisible in the high school. And so people knew that I sang because I was in choir, and I had before and was in the musicals, but it definitely wasn't like anyone knew that I was writing or stuff like that. And then I transferred high schools, and kind of around that time started putting online some of these songs that I had written, maybe like the end of my junior, senior year. Gosh, it's been so long, my memory's fading. But then in my new high school, people did know, and my friends knew. But gosh, I did the showcase, the senior showcase,
Like a
and stuff
talent
like
show
that.
thing. Okay.
But yeah, I was not excited to do that. I did it with a friend, and she was like, no, you have to. And I was like, oh my God, no. Like I'm so it's so interesting and doesn't really make sense with the career path I've chosen. But yeah, I was not a brave little kid, that's for sure.
Did you play one of your songs, or did you do like a cover?
I did play one of my songs.
Wow, that's bold. How
It
was that?
nice. I don't think I looked at the audience once.
What was the
I,
response? It must have gotten a good enough one to continue on.
I think it was mostly parents, so I think they were very kind to me. Yes.
Okay. I always find it funny that people that have, that write songs and are like, that's kind of like my thing, and I'm very shy and I don't want to play in front of people, then they decide on like the school talent show to showcase their first piece of their own material, and then you're not only are you playing your own song, which is super vulnerable, you're playing to all the kids that already know you, that you're going to see literally the next day at school, instead of going to like a coffee shop where there might be 15 people that you'll never run into ever again. It's always funny to hear the first performance stories that are probably the most terrifying and vulnerable spot you could possibly be at to play a first gig.
I was conned into it, and I will say that because my friend, we were doing my school had like you could do a senior project and do kind of whatever you want for a couple weeks. And a friend of mine who was also a songwriter, we were like, okay, we're gonna write songs together. And so she was like, part of it was like we needed to do a performance, or it was good or advised. And then she was like, oh, so we had planned to do it together. And then she's like, actually, I'm going out of town.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
no way. And so doing my own song by myself was like the only choice. So I was conned.
Yeah. Wow. That's wow. Okay. So she just hung you out to dry then. Was like, oh, sorry,
Absolutely.
I'm not going to be able to do this. It's all you. See you later.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay.
Absolutely.
So then you get into Stanford, you continue writing songs and playing while you're attending college? Because it sounds like, you know, you went for psychology and was music just a thing? Did you go there to have something to fall back on if the music thing didn't work out, or like how did you juggle that?
Yeah, I think it was a challenge for sure. My freshman year, I think, was probably the most normal college experience I had. You know, I did the dorm thing and was with friends and making friends and going out and you know, just being a college student, also writing songs and doing music. But it was less. I did a few shows kind of at like street fairs or I my spring break I came down to LA and did a show at the Grove, actually, like one of those summer things where they just hire people to play while people are shopping. So I did kind of that sort of gig. And at the end of my freshman year, I got an opportunity to open for Jacob Whitesides, who is an incredible singer-songwriter, on tour and do like six dates with him.
Wow.
And it was like
How did that come about?
I was super fortunate that they you know were looking for someone, and honestly that was a connection through my manager. And it was super lucky, and I was super fortunate that he took a chance on me since I had never done a tour before. And it was like that's really when I got the bug, and wanted to keep doing that, and did like 4 more dates with him later that summer, and just was like, this is it. So sophomore through senior year, I was, parts of school I was not there. I was on tour. I ended up taking a gap year halfway through to move to LA and tour. So yeah, it was kind of a weird experience. Not your average college experience for sure.
And what about putting out like Space Case, and then you had it looks like you had an EP before that? Like, are those records that you put out while you're still in college, or was this all after you had finished?
No, that was all in college. And yeah, those records are all really interesting to me, because a lot of that stuff, I mean, obviously, as you know, stuff in the music world takes a while. So you will write songs and then put them out, a year later or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. So now it's more, now you can write things and put it out quicker. But 5, 6 years ago, you had a little bit of time. So a lot of those songs were songs I wrote right out of, some in high school and some like graduated from high school, like just graduated.
Oh,
And so
wow.
by the time I put it out, like they even didn't really reflect me at the time. And I think that was the challenge with doing music in school, is that I I was trying to give 100% of myself to both things, and it kind of didn't. I wasn't giving myself the time I needed to figure out what I wanted to say. I knew that I wanted to say something, because like I said, in high school, at least the first part, I felt really invisible, and I knew
Mm-hmm.
I wanted a voice, or I wanted to have something. And I just got caught up in the rush of school and the rush of starting touring, that I wasn't, I was, I didn't sit with myself enough to figure out what I wanted to say musically at
Mm-hmm.
that point, when you're 18 and know nothing, basically.
Sure. Sure. Okay. So then you what did you put those records out while you were doing some of that touring? And because the songs had already kind of been there and had been a while, and you put them out, and are you touring that EP and that album all while then kind of coming back and taking classes?
Pretty much. Yeah. I remember, I did a lot over the summer. The summer and also that's just like the big touring time usually, but
Mm-hmm.
I was sophomore year, took 3 weeks off. I mean, I was still doing classes, but like, and then toured with the summer set, which was really fun. It was the van tour. And yeah, I did that for a little bit. Kept doing some shows. The next summer, did a tour with Jacob again. And after my sophomore year, that was when I was like, I want to do this. And so I decided to take a gap year.
Okay. And that's when you moved to LA?
That's when I moved to LA, and I toured basically from the end of May to
What
December.
year is this? Sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry. I think this is the year 2017, 2018.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Gray was something that you had done yet or no?
Not yet.
Okay.
Gray I started in 2018 and put that out in the fall of 2018.
And this is during or after the gap year?
That was, I wrote it during the gap year, and I think I was just coming back to school when it came out.
Okay.
Gosh, my memory is so bad.
No, it's perfect. I'm just going off dates. I know it's hard. I can't remember anything, especially since we've been sitting aside for like 3 years. But yeah, I was just trying to figure out chronologically where that record fell in. So you did the gap year, did a bunch of touring, focused on music, and then you put out this record. And what made you decide to go, you know what, let's go, I'm just going to go back to school to finish?
Yeah, I think, well, one, it was like I think Stanford would make you reapply after a certain amount of time off. So I was like, yeah, no, I'm not applying to college again. Absolutely not.
Right.
So I was like, I'm going to come back and finish.
Right.
But so there's that. And also it felt like the right time. I wanted to go back and see my friends, and you write better when you have more life experience. And so I was like, let's go get some experience. And so I came back, and really my senior year was kind of when everything happened. The summer after my junior year into my senior year or I guess in my junior year, I was invited to go on tour with the Vamps.
That's huge.
Which was like, I say this like it's normal to me, but it's not normal to me that happened. I still I can say it like it's normal because I like feel like I woke up from a dream and I'm explaining my dream to you.
Mm-hmm.
But it was incredible. It was like the first tour bus I was ever on, and I was like, oh my God.
Oh yeah, that's so crazy. That's huge. The Vamps are massive.
So it was incredible. I loved it. And that was like my first international anything really. And then come back to school, finish up, and then in the summer, like right away, did a tour with New Hope Club. And then like the day after that wrapped, started going on tour with Why Don't We, and did their the rest of their like US tour over the summer, and then was like so lucky to be invited back to go to Europe and Australia, New Zealand with them.
Wow.
It was insane.
That is so crazy. And where does COVID then land? Are you on one of these tours when that happened?
It was very close to being that. I wasn't. So that wraps up in November, and then I do one of those things where I'm like, okay, so I have to go. I'm finishing school. I did all of that stuff while in school, which was a trip for sure. Gosh, I actually remember there was one time we had, I told some of my teachers in smaller lecture classes, but the bigger ones, I was like, it's going to be, they're not going to know I'm not there. And it's going to cause more problems if I tell them. So I'm not going to tell them. But there was one class that took your participation. And so,
Oh,
and I was in the UK or no, I was somewhere in Europe at the time. And the class lined up with my exact set time for like 3 days. And so my tour manager, Sunny, she was like an absolute angel. I gave her my laptop and I was like, I don't care what answers you pick. They aren't going to grade. They just care that. So she would literally do my little participation quiz for me. It was like 2 questions while I
just
was
to
on.
show that you were there. That's so funny.
Yeah,
Oh,
which is like
wow.
so that I'm just like, I'm fully not there, but yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, then you get back. Obviously, the world shuts down. Did you graduate? I saw. I'm just looking at your Instagram now. You have some pictures from. It looks like your graduation at Stanford, right?
Yeah.
Um, so you were able to graduate. Was that something you were able to like walk and do the whole like congratulations thing, or was it like, are you graduating via Zoom?
It was yeah, so I graduated or was supposed to walk in 2020 and obviously that didn't happen.
Okay,
Um so they didn't, I'm sure they did like a Zoom thing. I didn't go to
participate.
that. But they just recently this past year um had a ceremony. So I got to go
Okay,
back and walk and it was very lovely. So
that's
I kind
amazing.
of like that.
Okay. And then so you finish and then you decide, did you ever pursue the degree or was it like, nah, I've got it just in case in my back pocket?
Yeah, there hasn't been any sort of thought about whether I'm gonna try to take a job in psychology or something
Okay.
like
So then
that.
it's
It
just,
was,
I'm going to LA now. You decide to move to
yeah,
LA because that's where it's happening. And
absolutely.
so then does that kind of bring us to around where we are now? Or when do you move to LA? What year?
Yeah, so when COVID hit, I was actually in Italy because I I have such bad FOMO a lot. And I heard one person say that they regretted never studying abroad in college. And I was like, now that I've heard it, that's going to happen to me. I
I have
know
to
it.
do it.
I have to do it. I have to do it. And so I did. So that's what I was doing. And Italy was the second place that, or first place outside of China that got hit. So we got sent back.
Oh
Um,
yeah, it was like brutal. That was like the next hot spot.
yeah, it was an insane kind of experience. And so I got back and was home and I stayed at home with my parents and family for um a little over a year. And it was kind of a crazy experience that led to me rediscovering and figuring out what I wanted to do with music because I got back and I was doing Zoom classes and obviously it's a stressful time for everybody. So everyone's feeling very emotional and anxious and scared. And I was going through some health stuff too. So I was not focused on music at all for the better part of a year, honestly. And when I started coming back at the end of 2020 writing again, I just had so much more clarity around what I wanted to do. And it really was a wonderful blessing in disguise because of course I was so sad that it happened kind of right after I got like all these amazing experiences and opportunities to tour and felt like I found my footing a little bit and the rugs pulled out from under you.
Mhm.
And it actually worked out for the better because now I feel like I had that time to sit with myself and figure out not just what I want to say, but how I want to say it and really kind of spend like not have half my energy focused elsewhere, like have my entire being focused on the music. And that's where the growth came in for me.
Okay. And then you start putting out music again. Like it looks like you had a couple of years before you released another record up until
Mhm.
Ever Knew Me. Was that just working on stuff, working on stuff, and finally decided to put something out?
Yeah, well, it was like that year of not doing anything music related, and then started writing and collaborating with some people that I'd met, along my way. touring and doing Zoom sessions, of course. You know, the dreaded or amazing Zoom sessions. It's always a hit or miss whether your audio is going to work or whatever. But, you know, it was wonderful to be able to work with people who aren't in state. And that was kind of a new opportunity that came up. But yeah, started writing, figuring out what I wanted to say, putting together new material, and then felt like that was really the end of 2020 through all of 2021. And then figuring out like, okay, I'm gonna get back out there, reintroduce myself as a musician, and give this the shot that it deserves. And yeah, so I put out my first song in 2.5 years, like just like a couple, like just recently, and it's been very exciting.
It's a rad song. It's a really good song. I like it a lot, actually. I mean, I've listened to it a few times with Ever Knew Me.
Thank you. That's so nice. I really appreciate that.
But yeah, the melody is awesome. I love just the feel of it. It's kind of like an alt pop song.
Thank you. I don't know if I'm blushing. Thank you so much. That's so.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah, it was a really, really fun record to write. It was, I wrote it with a producer, Mark Siegel, who's out in Nashville, actually.
Okay. That's right, man.
I know I may or may not listen to many of your podcasts.
Oh, no, thank you. I'm flattered. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's awesome.
I know. I didn't know if I should pretend that I did not know, if I should be like, but I was like, no, I'm just gonna tell you.
Or you're like, this guy if this guy sucks, I'm not even gonna waste my time.
Absolutely not. No, I love listening.
I get it.
No, I love listening to this and hearing people's experience. So I love what you do.
Thank you. That means a lot. It really does. Thank you.
No, of course, I am. It's very cool and a very amazing opportunity for me and artists to just talk freely about their process and have that space. So thank you.
Oh, no, thank you again. So tell me, you wrote the song with somebody in Nashville. Is it Zoom writing? Did you know this person? Because I would imagine sharing, stuff that's pretty vulnerable to you with somebody that you've never met might be a difficult thing as well. Definitely.
And I've done that process several times, actually, but this one was Mark Siegel, and I met him on tour with Jacob Whiteside. So the first ever tour I did, he was MDing and playing.
Okay.
And I knew he was a producer, and we had hoped to connect over the years, and it just so happened that when everything shut down, we both connected and decided to get some Zoom sessions, and it just worked. And I ended up writing a lot with him. He became my main collaborator for new music, and it's a great collaboration, great, wonderful partnership. And Ever Knew Me, I wonder, that was like the longest song that we've written together thus far. Like, it took the longest. I think we started over Zoom. I was in LA at that point. I've been here for a year, and the verse was easy. Like, the production seat was great. Like, it was just this chorus that took months to figure out. Not that we were actively trying for months, but like, we'd give it a few goes and nothing would hit. And it'd be like, no. Do we need to change the chords? I don't know. Let's figure it out. We keep writing songs in between that. Come back to it like a little bit. It's not that. And then he comes to LA to record some other stuff and write some other stuff. And the day that we had planned, we're like, okay, let's like give this song a shot. It's really good for what it is. We just need that chorus. And we changed the chords, and I went home with the instrumental, and I was like, I really had to like pep talk with myself. I was like, oh my God, okay, Mark leaves after tomorrow. This is it. Like, pull yourself together. And came up with like the most simple, we had been doing everything to try to make it like bigger and exciting. And I was like, that's not working. I'm gonna pull it back, and pulled it back. And I get to the studio and I'm like, okay, you may hate this, because we're doing all this exciting stuff. And I'm like, this may be like a total, this might totally fail. But I sing it for him, and the most exciting moment was when I sing it through and I wait, and he goes, that's it, we got it, we're done.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's cool. I was gonna say the melody and the hook in the chorus is really good.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
I'm shocked that you said that was when you're like, it was the longest song, and I'm like, I think that song's only like a little over 3 minutes long.
Like, oh my god, what 2-minute songs do you have?
No, I was thinking, what, did I listen to the wrong song?
No.
No, yeah, that's and then tell me about Idiot. That's the new one.
Oh, Idiot's my baby. I wrote that like a year and a half ago almost.
Wow.
And I love it for many reasons, but like the first one is that while I was just experimenting with new music, there were songs that like I was like, even if they're not for me, I want to know what I want to just do it. And it's like my Avril Lavigne wannabe song that I always have wanted to write a song like that. And so I was so happy to have that. And it came about because I was in Nashville working with Mark and was going to the studio, running a little bit late. And as soon as I got to every stoplight, like you know, a few yards out, it would turn green. And I was listening to some like pop punk playlist at the time. And I just kind of get in my head, like, guess I'm lucky that I'm hitting all the green lights, and sang that to myself. And in the car wrote this song driving, you know, a chorus of all this stuff. And I get to Mark's and we had other stuff planned. It always kind of works out that we have like other stuff that we are supposed to be doing when the magic happens. And I was like, okay, I have no chords, I have nothing, but here's this. And he's like, yes. And he grabs his guitar and we start playing, and we start formulating the song, and wrote that day. And it was really, I feel like people expect that creativity happens in sparks like that all the time. And that's really not the case for me, at least. But that was one of those moments where, like, one of those rare moments where just everything aligns at the right time, and kind of you create something that you don't expect to.
I love that. That's amazing. And do you have, it sounds like you've been writing a lot of songs, and do you have like are you going to release another album or EP or just more singles? What do you have coming up?
I have, yes, been writing a lot, been working on a lot. I'm very excited about my project that Ever Knew Me and Idiot are in the family of. So I'm very excited for what's to come, and kind of the full story to unfold and be heard.
Exciting. Well, thank you so much, Taylor, for doing this today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I've had the best time, and so appreciate and feel very fortunate to be invited here. So thank you.
Of course. I have one more question. I want to know if you have advice for aspiring artists.
Yeah, I think the advice I have is, even if it takes a little longer, sit with yourself a little more and figure out what you want to say and what story you want to put out there, because that's what people are going to connect to the most. And that's the most important thing, is figuring out who you are, especially when this industry wants to tell you all the time who you should be, or what box to fit in, or what you need to do in order to make it. So if you know who you are a little bit more, that'll just expedite the process, I think, in the long run.